This is Economy Watch, what you need to know about New Zealand's economic life today. Brought to you by interest.co.nz.
Kia ora, and welcome to Friday's Economy Watch, where we follow the economic events and trends that affect New Zealand. I'm David Chaston, and this is the international edition from interest.co.nz. And today we lead with news. It is Friday the 13th, so don't expect too much from the day. The actual number of American jobless claims last week were 178,000, a one-year low, taking the total number of people on these benefits to 1.71 million, a 9-month low. But the seasonally adjusted level reported was 230,000. It is unclear why the variance is so large this week. Meanwhile, American producer prices rose 1.7% in the year to August, the lowest in 6 months, easing from a downward revised 2.1% gain in July, and below market expectations of 1.8%. Their core PPI rose to 2.4%, however, emphasising the role much cheaper energy prices are playing in keeping inflation down. And the September USDA World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates report confirmed global wheat and rice production will be higher than expected earlier in the year. Coarse grains were slightly less. They also say American beef imports will rise on rising demand. American milk production is expected to slip on lower local production. There was another well-supported US Treasury 30-year bond auction overnight, delivering a 3.95% median yield. This is down sharply from the 4.22% yield at the prior equivalent event a month ago. And India's inflation rate rose to 3.65% in August, from an upwardly revised 3.6% in July, which was the lowest level since August 2019. But the August level was above forecasts of 3.55%. However, these levels are below the RBI's target, and while food prices are still rising at a 5.7% rate, that is down from year-ago levels of 9.9%. It is this base effect change that is making the overall price increases look low. Meanwhile, India's July industrial production was up 4.8%, about the average level has been for all of 2024. In China, markets are expecting some significant cuts for interest rates for home loan borrowers soon. They were signalled earlier, but are now imminent. At the same time, Beijing is rounding up investment bankers, taking passports and investigating them for corruption. Despite all this, their government bond sector is rallying sharply today in defiance of Beijing's efforts to calm matters. Equity prices are falling, also on the uncertainty, and in contrast to what is happening in other global markets. As expected, the ECB cut its policy rates, but they varied a lot this time by type of facility. The deposit rate was cut by 25 basis points to 3.5%, but the main refinancing operations rate and the marginal lending facility rate were lowered to 3.65% and 3.9%, both from 4%. So these cuts are larger. They see a better inflation outlook and better transmission of policy. But they're also facing a weaker level of economic activity in the bloc. Their balance sheet reductions continue at an unchanged pace. It seems the Australian Central Bank is right to be sceptical inflation is trending in the way they need it to. Consumer inflation expectations are still at 4.4% in September in Australia, only slightly down from August's 4-month high of 4.5%. Perhaps the situation will turn soon. The same survey showed that respondents expected total pay was expected to grow by just 1.4% over the next 12 months. And world container freight rates fell a rather sharp 13% last week as the shipping industry adjusts to the Suez Canal risks and the Panama drought impacts fade. Prices were down the 13% last week from the week before to be only about double what they were a year ago. This is counted as progress. The biggest falls were for cargoes outbound from China. But bulk freight rates are rising, up 3% over the past week, but they're up 60% higher than a year ago. And the US Treasury 10-year yield is now just on 3.68% and up 3 basis points from yesterday. And the price of gold will start today up a significant $40 from yesterday at $2,554 an ounce, and almost touching the record high of $2,555 on September the 12th. In fact, as we go to air, it may have bested that all-time high level. Oil prices are up another $1.50 at just on $69 a barrel in the US, while the international Brent price is just over $72 a barrel. And the Kiwi dollar starts today at 61.6 US cents and 30 basis points firmer from this time yesterday. Against the Aussie, though, we're down 10 basis points at 91.9 Australian cents. Against the euro, we're 20 basis points firmer at 55.8 euro cents. That all means our trade-weighted index starts today at 69.5 and 20 basis points higher from yesterday. And the Bitcoin price starts today at $58,242 and up almost 1% from yesterday. Volatility over the past 24 hours, however, has been modest at just under plus or minus 1.1%. You can find links to the articles mentioned today in our show notes, and you can get more news affecting the economy in New Zealand from interest.co.nz. Kia ora, I'm David Chaston, and we'll do this again on Monday.